Israel attacked Iran's capital in strikes targeting the country's nuclear program.
Several top Iranian military leaders killed, raising the potential for an all-out war between these two countries. Iran responded by sending around 100 drones toward Israel. They were intercepted. It's still not clear how many got through. Iran threatening to hold the United States responsible as well. President Trump will meet with his National Security Council this morning, and Fox's Doug Luzader has the latest from Washington.
The White House is trying to distance itself from this attack, but there are clear signs that the administration knew something was in the works. Hours later, the impact was becoming clear.
Moments ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced the attack last night. It was an operation that involved not just an air campaign, but Israeli operatives apparently working on the ground in Iran. The targets, Iranian nuclear sites, scientists, and military leaders.
We targeted Iran's main enrichment facility in Natanz. We targeted Iran's leading nuclear scientists working on the Iranian bomb. We also struck at the heart of Iran's ballistic missile program.
Israel has already been fending off air attacks this morning. Posting on X, Iran's supreme leader threatened to retaliate. That Zionist regime, he wrote, should anticipate a severe punishment. By God's grace, the powerful arm of the Islamic Republic's armed forces won't let them go unpunished.
Well, I'd love to avoid the conflict.
Just yesterday, prior to the attacks, President Trump said he was trying to avoid this, hoping to continue nuclear talks with Iran this weekend. But he has also said repeatedly that Iran cannot have nuclear weapons, and these attacks could be a significant setback for the regime.
Trying to really dismantle and rubblize the key nuclear sites in Iran so that Iran can never get back to being as close as they were to a bomb before last night.
Now, there are reports of stepped-up security now around the Israeli embassy here in Washington, and this city is already locking down ahead of the Army's 250th anniversary parade tomorrow. In Washington, I'm Doug Luzader for Good Day.
Well, and early this morning, the president responded to the strike, saying Iran should strike a deal with the U.S. on its nuclear program before there's nothing left. He also hinted that Israel has planned more attacks that will be even bigger. U.S. and Iran were supposed to have more talks over the nuclear program this weekend. Iran canceled them after the Israeli attack.
Governor Greg Abbott is doubling down on his promise to send out Texas National Guard troops ahead of the No Kings protests across the state.
Fox 4's Paige Ellenberger live in Dallas, where there are multiple demonstrations planned for this weekend. Paige.
Brandon, Lauren, good morning. Thousands of Texas National Guard troops will be deployed this weekend. It's a similar move we've seen taken by President Donald Trump in California during anti-ICE protests in the Los Angeles area. Governor Greg Abbott says he supports the president's decision to deploy troops and is doing so here in Texas as a precaution. With dozens of protests against the Trump administration's handling of immigration scheduled across the state this weekend, the governor went on Fox News to defend his reasoning for using state force.
There were protests without any property being damaged or anybody being hurt. And people are free to protest if they don't harm anything. However, because of the possibility, because the size of the crowds could grow large, because things could get out of control, we want to make sure that we have the assets in place where we're going to be able to quickly respond.
Abbott deploying 5,000 National Guard troops as well as 2,000 state troopers to monitor protests tomorrow. It is unclear exactly how many will go where. At least 8 protests are scheduled here in the Dallas area for tomorrow. Organizers reminding demonstrators to remain peaceful. Reporting live in Dallas, I'm Paige Ellenberger for Good Day.
The investigation is ramping up into what caused a deadly passenger jet crash in India this morning.
241 people were killed, including several people on the ground. One man who was thrown from the plane survived. The Air India flight was bound for London but crashed into a residential area shortly after takeoff. As Greg Palcott reports, the NTSB and Boeing are now offering to help figure out what happened.
Searching for answers in India to the worst global aviation disaster in a decade.
I saw the crashed plane, many bodies lying.
242 on board, passengers along with Indians, including British, Portuguese, and Canadian, children and infants, and a 12-person crew. All now confirmed dead, except for one Brit who made it out alive. It happened in the western Indian city of Ahmedabad. An Air India Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner leaving from the airport there, bound for London. Shortly after takeoff, the plane, full of fuel, issued a mayday warning. It reached 600 feet and then descended into a residential area, crashing in flames.
It looks like whether the plane was losing power and or the flaps weren't deployed. It is a low-speed impact.
There won't be certainty about the cause of the crash, at least until the plane's black boxes are found and analyzed.
We are going to go to the depth of why this incident has happened.
Among those injured on the ground, students at a medical school dormitory hit by the plane. The crash a blow to the Boeing Corporation, already hit by safety questions involving its other planes. But until this crash, the Dreamliner had not been involved in any accidents, over 1,000 in use worldwide. President Trump offering to help India.
They'll handle it, I'm sure, but I let them know that anything we can do, we'll be over there immediately.
Air India hasn't had any major accidents for 5 years. The pilot in this case had 8,000 hours of experience. Indian Prime Minister Modi offered his sorrow in a post. The tragedy in Ahmedabad has stunned and saddened us. It's heartbreaking beyond words. The NTSB and the UK are sending teams to India to help with the investigation. Boeing also offering to assist. A lot of questions to be answered. In London, Greg Palcon, Fox News.
All right, thank you. Dallas County reporting its first measles case this year.
Health experts are urging North Texas to get vaccinated for the illness. Peyton May live this morning from Dallas County Health and Human Services with what we know about the patient and possible exposures. Peyton.
Yes, Brandon, health officials say the patient is a woman in her 20s who visited at least 2 locations in Plano while contagious. Now, those symptoms beginning May 30th through June 7th. The health department is currently using contact tracing to identify anyone who may have been exposed. Officials say the patient was at Lemma Coffee in Plano the morning of Saturday, May 31st, and First Baptist Plano on the afternoon of Sunday, June 1st. At this time, health officials say those going in and out of the coffee shop or church shouldn't be alarmed since it's been over a week since the woman visited. Medical professionals say this particular case isn't common since the woman was protected from the illness.
She is fully vaccinated, so this is a vaccine breakthrough case. And so typically in people that are fully vaccinated, the symptoms seem to be a little bit milder, so no hospitalization at this point.
Health officials say this is an isolated incident, so they're not on high alert, but they want to make sure residents are watching for symptoms like fever, cough, runny nose, red eyes, and a sore throat. Texas Health and Human Services data shows 744 measles cases this year, most around the outbreak in West Texas. Now, just around 700 of those cases were in people who did not have a vaccine. Doctors say the measles vaccination is safe and effective. Reporting live in Dallas, I'm Peyton May for Good Day.